Good evening and welcome to the Town of Riverhead Planning Board. Today is Thursday, July 6, 2023. If we could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, before we begin, I would just like to begin by thanking our board member, Richard O'Day. Mr. O'Day was an active member of this board for over 30 years. My father actually served on this board with Mr. O'Day, and it was a privilege to be able to have the opportunity to serve with him as well. Exceptional man. I hope that he enjoys his retirement, and I wish him all the best. I would also at this time like to introduce our new board member, who is John Hogan. And welcome, John. John is from Wading River. He has over 40 years of experience in residential and commercial construction. He was a lieutenant in the fire department for FDNY, part of the U.S. Coast Guard. He also does a special program where he goes around the country and helps veterans restore their homes, people that need help. And I commend him for those great acts that you do. Welcome. And now, Vice Chair Daniszewski has something that he would like to say.
Yes, I would just like to thank the town board for reappointing me to this board. I also want to welcome John to the board. I'm sure he'll be fine. He has a wonderful resume. And I truly want to thank Dick O'Day for over 30 years of public service to this town. And he always tried to put Riverhead first. And I appreciate all his efforts, and I liked working with him. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, tonight we have 3 public hearings. Those public hearings are available at the moment on Zoom, considering that we do not have any technical issues. So from time to time, we will ask if anyone has their hand raised to be able to speak during the public hearing. At this time, we'll begin with our first public hearing, which is 105 Pier Avenue minor subdivision. Heather?
Good evening, everyone. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for coming. For the record, Heather Trojanowski, site plan reviewer. And this is a public hearing for the subdivision application of 105 Pier Avenue, which seeks to subdivide an existing 2.9877 acre parcel into 4 residential building lots. The subject parcel is located at 105 Pier Avenue in Jamesport within the RA40 zoning use district and is more particularly described as Suffolk County Tax Map number 600-8-3-1.4. And I believe we do have the mailings and proof of posting. Yes, okay. The Planning Board by Resolution 2023-033 dated May 4th, 2023 approved the submitted yield map, and by Resolution 2023-037 dated May 18th, 2023 classified the action as unlisted pursuant to SECRA and issued a negative declaration. We did receive comments from the Riverhead Water District, the Ag Advisory Committee, New York State SHPO, the Jamesport Fire District, and the Suffolk County Department of Health Services. I did forward those comments to the board members via email, but I can provide hard copies as well. And we do have a representative here for the application today, so I will turn it over to them to provide the details and answer any questions the board members or members of the public may have.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board. Vince Calvosa with Red's Adventure with an address of 1361 Lincoln Avenue in Holbrook, New York. Beginning my presentation, I would like to enter into the record our affidavit of posting and mailing along with the photos taken on the day of the sign posting and of today. Mr. Hogan, just welcome, just wanted to say welcome and thank you for the great work that you're doing with our veterans. That was good to hear. Thank you. As stated in the call of the meeting, looking for final approval to subdivide the existing 2.9877 acre parcel on 105 Pier Avenue in Jamesport. As Ms. Trojanowski had mentioned, it had been approved May 4th for the yield plan and classified as unlisted action pursuant to SECRA on May 18th. So I'm here tonight to answer any questions you may have on this application or the public may have, but seeking final approval.
Yeah, I had one quick question, thank you. It's a 2.9 acre parcel,
Yes,
and how did you get 4 units out of it? Is it transfer development rights?
that's
involved?
correct, yes.
Okay.
How many units?
4 in total. We used 1 TDR credit. We had a 3-lot yield plan that was submitted and approved, and with the use or the transfer of 1 development right credit, we were able to design it with 4 lots. The lot sizes, as identified on the map, Lot 1, 40,000 square feet, Lot 2, 42,381 square feet, Lot 3, 47,761. Those were the original 3-lot yields. And then with the transfer of development right, Lot 1 would be 22,633 square feet, Lot 2 would be 21,804 square feet, Lot 3 would be 40,551 square feet, and Lot 4, 45,158 square feet.
Thank you.
It's in keeping with the makeup of the neighborhood. The neighborhood is split up that way.
It's very similar to a subdivision that was, 2 subdivisions that were
Right
approved to
next
the
door.
south of this parcel, very similar nature and layout, size lots.
Those subdivisions that were approved way back when, were they before the present comprehensive plan?
That is correct, and they did not use the transfer development right credits.
They'd have to.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone that would like to come up?
Good evening, Mike Foley, Reeves Park. The gentleman just mentioned TDRs. I just wanted to know what the cost is of a TDR per parcel presently.
Well, there's a lot of factors to that, Mike. Soil samples and slopes and things like that. They go by appraisal. Like the county ones get a county appraisal, and that's the amount that they'll offer. And I would say each one is probably a little different. I don't know what the average is right now.
Do you know what the range is on this one, Ed?
I do not.
Would this gentleman know?
I'm not sure that I'm in a position to answer that question tonight.
Okay.
TDRs are a matter of public record. I don't know why you wouldn't be in a position to. Do you know it? Do you know what the answer is?
You have to
Okay.
address your comments to the board, sir.
Absolutely, Joe, I'm sorry about that, but, you know, at a public hearing, when a representative of an applicant comes, they should be here to answer questions. And I totally understand and agree with what Eddie just said, that these differ according to how things are divvied up, slopes, and all the things that Ed mentioned. Ed's forgotten more about this stuff than I'll ever remember. So, but Ed did mention that there are differences here. And this gentleman, certainly representing the applicant, knows what the price is. So I feel it's relevant for the public hearing to know.
How is it relevant?
Well, I believe it's relevant on revenue. I believe when you split 1 parcel into 4 parcels, that has an impact on the town. And if those parcels get into any kind of residential issues, there could be students that populate our schools. So not knowing whether it has any impact on that, and I really don't appreciate you rolling your eyes at me. I can't wait until the next one. I guess that's just what I have to do. Just what I'll have to put up with for asking a question at a public hearing. Eddie, I appreciate your answer, such as it was, and I really want to call out this gentleman. He's here to answer questions. He knows the answer. He says he's not in a position to answer. What is he doing here?
All right, thank you. Anyone else that would like to come up?
Hi, my name is Richard Pontrelli. I live in 81 Pier Avenue and the lots adjoining these proposed lots. Now, I purchased these lots back in 1985. There's a 3-acre lot. There were 4 of them. So I got the one I chose. At the time, it was all farmland. Now, 2 years ago, after subdividing, I sold 3 lots to the applicants, Reds Adventure and Calvosa Construction. And upon selling it, they wanted to preserve the nature as much as possible. And they tagged trees worthy of saving and saved a lot of wooded area untouched. And they built 3 beautiful homes there. The Calvosa organization is an honorable organization, and they have employees with them for 25 years. Their homes are constructed above code. They use James Hardy siding, architectural roofs with metal accents, PVC decks, and fantastic interiors. I don't work for them, by the way. Everyone in this room really benefits who lives in that area from these homes. I benefit personally because they're going to leave a 30-foot buffer between my property and the home behind me from their new proposed lots. They're not going to touch that. And besides that, the residents in the area will benefit because these homes will be quality homes sold probably for $1 million or excess. And the town benefits from the real estate taxes they will receive. And tremendous bonus for the town is the $150,000 that they will pay to the Land Preservation Fund, which goes towards the development of preserving farmland. Thank you.
Anybody else? Do we have anybody on Zoom? Oh, yeah, come on. You can state your name and speak directly into the microphone.
So is it on?
We got to talk close.
So my name's Matt Pendleton. I spoke with you, the 3 of you to the right, at the last meeting, if you remember. I also serve on Ag Advisory, so I'm kind of stuck in the middle of this a little bit because I want to see TDRs being used, but
Keep speaking into the microphone.
I want to see TDRs being used. There you go. Now you can hear me. But we own the farm directly behind your property, which was Fred and Lois Reeves. We bought that from Mark Zaweski's daughters. So we're into mortgage on that 20-acre piece. Your name is again? Vince Calvosa developed the lots that he purchased from this gentleman down the street. So we have new neighbors. And the houses are aesthetically pleasing. There's no issues with that. The issue that we're facing is the proximity of those houses to farmland. That's an issue. But we're working through it. They're zip tying their fences for their pools to our deer fence and so forth. So it's been very fun. If you want to come over, you can come down and look at it. And so when we go down further, do you want me to show you on the map where I'm speaking of? The house that we're most concerned about?
Sure.
I'm not going to speak in the mic, but I think everyone can hear me. So this is Pier Avenue, right? This is a house within 200 feet of our irrigation well. I don't need calls at night when we're irrigating. The well's running right now. So when this guy is having his fillings rattled out of his head, that's going to be a problem. And if you say that there's a buffer used and so forth on this, those other houses that were developed, there's no buffer between us and the farmland. So when I go back and I'm disking, or if we do other activities like spraying, and it drifts across, we're going to have a problem. Right now we're farming sheep. There's a pool so close to the property line that if the sheep got close enough, and they pass gas at the same time, their pellets are going in the pool. I invite any of you to come to our property and we can walk the line together. Miss Holden has been more than nice. Trojanowski.
There's another head.
Oh, no. Trojanowski has been more than nice helping me with everything. But my major concern is, one, it's a minor on top of a minor, right? That's a no-no already. Two, I know that development right's going to try to preserve another farmland at Zaweski's farm, at a house lot in the middle of it. But you're impacting me with another problem. So this is not on ag advisory. This is coming from our personal farm where we are and the impacts that it's going to be. And I can submit this to the board, I guess. And one thing that, if this even goes through, you can have the right to farm law and everything like that, but in my past experiences, something needs to be recorded on the deeds that they understand that this is farmland and there's an undisturbed buffer that they don't touch, whether it's poison ivy or whatever, it's not being disturbed. Because, just to give you perspective, if we ever had to relocate our well because of lawyers and so forth, we're in hock for $80,000 to $100,000. Yeah. And we're in hock enough owning the property. Okay? So this is a real big problem, and I invite any of you to come. And just to give you an example of mixing of non-agricultural use and farming, and I'm not trying to be a fool about this, when the surveyors came, they didn't even introduce themselves to us. They just came on the property. I know they do, but where we come from, upstate, you usually introduce yourself, you say, I'm coming on your property. They never did. My two children right here stand very politely over there. If they were in back with our farm dog, the surveyor would have gotten nailed. And there's deer fence all around our property, so they literally entered our fence, came in, and did what they did on their own. That's how you mix residential with agriculture, not well. Right? So there's some thoughts that need to go in this further. Okay?
Okay.
Please. And this is, for the record, this is the Pendleton's opinion, nothing to do with ag advisory, this is
Got
us,
it.
okay? So there's no
I
he
understand.
said, she said stuff.
Thank you.
Matt, I'm shook my hand before.
Anyone else?
Matt, any Zoomers?
John Cullen, Northville. As you may know, about 27 houses have gone up in Northville, that small little hamlet between Penny's Lane and Pier Avenue. A traffic light is going to eventually be needed, as now what they call the gravy train of contractors coming back and forth to work in the morning and evening is getting supremely hard to make a left turn 12 months a year. 4 more houses into the Northville area. Is it going to hurt? It's not going to help. And I just want to let you know, 27 houses, including these 4 houses here, I think is just a bit heavy in that little area. Thank you.
Thank you.
Matt Borowski, I actually own the property, 143 Pier Avenue, so I'm adjacent or closely adjacent to the property they're trying to develop on. There's a little carve out of his farm that my backyard butts up against. So I just want to go on record as saying I'm strongly opposed. As of right now, where they propose to put these 4 houses, it's undeveloped, it's nothing but greenery, it's beautiful. And this is why my partner and I decided to move out here, not the Hamptons. I don't care if a $2 million house goes in there. That is a moot point. It's a moot point of how much they've paid to develop this or buy the property. Like, if we wanted this to look like the Hamptons, then we can develop every piece and parcel. But we specifically have money going to land trust to protect agricultural and to keep this area looking beautiful and like it does. So again, I just want to be on record as being a strong protest against this development. Thank you.
Anyone else? Matt, Zoom?
Madam Chair, may I just add a few things to the record, please? So just would like to note that as of right, this is a 3-lot subdivision. So according to the town zoning code, 3 houses would be permitted under the zoning code. And according to the zoning code, with the use of a TDR, this could be 4 lots as of right with the use of the TDR. Would like to just mention that I had been heard and reviewed by the Agricultural Review Board. I believe that the gentleman who spoke prior was a member of that board, weighed in on all of the major concerns. And with that hearing, a determination was made that they would like language, covenant language filed, the right to farm language. So in 2 places. One, it would be filed or listed on the filed map, filed with the county, and also deed covenanted in perpetuity. So the language that was requested at the Agricultural Review Board had been passed along to us. We asked our council to review it and willing to put that on the filed map as requested and deed covenanted. With regards to the question before, in regards to TDRs, just to make clarity on that, those TDRs came from another location. I don't own the TDR, I'm buying the TDR. Another piece of property is being preserved in Aquabog, and the TDR rate is a market rate set. So, the seller determines the rate, the buyer determines what he's willing to pay for it. So there's no buying these from the town, they're private sale TDRs.
Thank you.
I just wanted to add that, it pursuant to Town Code, Chapter 201-4, again, that's Town Code, even though it sounds like it's a recommendation from Ag Advisory, it's actually Town Code. So 201-4 subsection C states that specific language, protected farm practices, has to be on the map and in the filed covenant. So it has to be done either way. And the TDRs, in order to utilize that, they'll have to make an official TDR application when the time comes. So I'm assuming that whatever the purchase price will have to be put on the TDR application. Again, that gets processed through the planning department. And I believe you guys recall you heard a TDR application for one of Greg's applications, and that goes over the acreage, where it's being taken from, where it's being landed, and the price. So that will have to be done prior to the approval of the subdivision.
Thank you, Heather. No?
Make a motion to close the hearing.
Well, we have Matt wants to talk.
I'm sure, Matt Pendleton again. I just wanted to make sure the board understands that the property that we own is already been preserved. So we have no out after this. This is already had the development rights sold. So we can't just say we're done farming and, develop it because we're done with it. So it's already been, land has been stripped of its agricultural of its development, value. And so is the property of Luce's to the west of it. All right?
All right, thank you.
Make a motion to close, you have more? No. Motion to close the public hearing for 105 Pure Avenue minor subdivision. So moved.
Second?
Vote, please. Bear?
Yes.
Nenaro? Hogan?
Yes.
Nacesky?
Aye.
Woski, yes. All right, let's move on to Merritt Creek Townhouses site plan.
Me again. Heather Trojanowski, site plan reviewer. And this is a public hearing for the site plan application of Merritt's Creek Townhouses, which seeks approval to construct 26 three-bedroom townhouses in 6 buildings comprised of 4 to 5 units each, with associated site improvements including parking, lighting, landscaping, and drainage. They're going to demolish the existing residential structures on site. The project location is comprised of 3 contiguous parcels located at 876 East Main Street, 906 East Main Street, and 912 to 916 East Main Street, with each parcel more particularly identified as Suffolk County Tax Map numbers 600-126-6-11, 12, and 13 respectively, and it's within the DC5 zoning use district. The cumulative acreage of all 3 properties is 3.473 acres, and as was last discussed at the planning board meeting on May 18th of 2023, we did receive substantial comments from the Riverhead Fire Marshal, the Riverhead Water District, New York State DOT, the town engineer, the Architectural Review Board, and the New York State DEC. And in addition to the preparation of a map and plan required by the Water District, the project will require approval from the Riverhead Sewer District, among other agencies. And for the record, I just want to state I did forward the notice of public hearing to the Riverhead Central School District clerk via email. I did receive a response that the notice would be forwarded to the administration should the district wish to provide any comments. And just a note, the project was originally submitted back in 2018. I have the applicant's design professional here to answer any questions.
Thank you.
Good evening, Jeff Zahn. Good evening, everybody. My name is Jeff Zahn. I'm the architect of record. Heather pretty much summed up the whole project, but if you have any questions.
All right.
Is any of the land going to be left vacant?
Yes. We have a 150-foot buffer, CAC and DEC setback from the wetlands, and that'll all be,
And that's
that'll
in-
be undeveloped.
That's in the back of the property, right?
Correct.
I had a question, Greg. I think it was last meeting, we were talking about covenants and restrictions on the front use, between Main Street and the houses, so we don't end up with the plastic slides and the bicycles and the barbecues. Did we do any work on that, or is it a little early yet?
I mean, when we get to CNRs, that's something we talk about when we get to the approval stage of it, but I mean, but the board has made its intentions and its desires known on the application.
Okay.
So the actual language, we can work that out through the approval process.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
All right, do we have anyone that would like to come up and say anything? Smile, Mike.
Absolutely, always, Joanne. Mike Foley, Reeves Park. Heather, I'm glad you mentioned that you got a notice out to the Central School District, because I think it's real important. What we're talking about right now is moving 4 pieces of ownership, a 2-family and 3 singles, so a total of 5 families, into 26 families. So, Greg, me and you have had a differing of opinion on the influx of students when you get this kind of an increase. And we've talked about 2 bedrooms and other things. But here we're talking about 26 3-bedroom apartments. I did a little research on the average child school age head count of a 3-bedroom apartment. It's about 1 3/4. So on 26 apartments, we're talking about 45 students. Now let's take away 2 students per house of the 5 that are there. That leaves us with a net of 35 students. So, I did hear, and I know this is not germane to this gentleman's application, but I know at one of the recent town board meetings, an attorney for the Central School District came up here and objected to the influx of anticipated students with the multifamily apartment buildings that were going on. And I don't want to drag that into this, but I do think it's something that really needs to be strongly considered. When we have an overtaxed school district now, not in terms of money, but students per classroom, and we're talking about adding a net 35 students to the school district, I think we got to take a hard look at it. And we do know from that attorney at a prior hearing that the average cost of a year's education in the town of Riverhead is about 20 grand. So if we're talking about 35 students, 20 grand, $700,000 a year in taxes, in expenses for the school district, I think it needs to be looked at hard. And I certainly wish that somebody from the Central School District was here to talk about this, because they talked about it, the woman that represented them at a prior hearing talked about it eloquently and the problems that they had. And I can't match that eloquence, but it made sense to me when I heard it. Everybody up here has common sense, and I think everybody would also understand that. But when we're talking about this kind of an expansion in density, I wonder if there are any TDR considerations for this. And the gentleman behind me is here, and I just wanted to know if that was something that has been discussed, or if it's something that's in the works later. But if there is any TDR consideration for the anticipation, well, the definite increase in density from 5 families to 26, and the anticipated increase and taxing on our school students in the existing schools that we have. Do you have any TDR stuff?
To answer your question, no.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Virginia Healy. I'm in Wading River, and I'm also a school board trustee. And I do want to thank you for sending us notice. And on Zoom, we have Ashley Pope, a lawyer, so she's going to want to be able to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Is she ready now?
Hi, can y'all hear me?
Yes. Good evening, Ms. Pope. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, thank you for having us, and as Trustee Healy mentioned, thank you for sending the notice directly to the district. It's much appreciated. The district would very much love to participate in the process and make sure that appropriate information is shared throughout all stages. I guess first, I believe it was Mr. Foley mentioned the comments we made at the town board meeting in June on a different development. We're fully aware that there's several developments in the works in the downtown area. The development, which is the subject of the public hearing for this evening, is again, just like the last one, in the Roanoke Avenue Elementary School attendance zone, which, I know this is a planning board meeting and a different group of people sitting at the table. That school's at capacity. It's been at capacity. There's just not space for additional students contemplated by the other developments in that same attendance zone currently, and then this additional development which is contemplated. I'm unclear from I guess what was published for this evening, for example, to what extent the information has been obtained from the school district relative to that school, its capacity, attendance, and numbers of students from other areas. At the last public board meeting, we did note concerns with the particular Stony Brook study, which was used by another developer to assess the anticipated number of students to be forthcoming from the number of apartments in that development. Looking at a three-bedroom, a development of so many three-bedroom apartments, it would be quite reasonable to anticipate a much higher influx of students from this type of development, particularly when you're talking about townhouses, which would be appealing to families with children. So if you're able to take questions and answer them, we would love to know, for example, at what point you'll be assessing the environmental impacts and the impacts on the school district in particular with regard to students and financial impacts with respect to taxes, if you don't mind answering.
Is she looking for? Who exactly are you looking to answer that question?
Whoever's appropriate, honestly, or if there's an individual that we should speak to about that directly offline, we're happy to do that as well, so that we can make sure we submit informed comments on this.
Okay, let's bring up Heather Trojanowski. She might be able to address this.
So we did already, the planning board adopted a secra resolution back on June 1st of 2023. Again, this project has been around since 2018. The original planner who worked on it was Karen Gluth, and I picked it up after it sitting for a while. So obviously, you know, the notice of public hearing, we're willing to take any and all comments. If you have any questions or you wanted to take a look at the plans, any of the documents that are on the record, you can email me. I'd be happy to share that with you and go over everything.
Perfect. And if you know, because I haven't seen that this particular development is contemplating an application for any sort of industrial development agency benefits, is that contemplated for
I
this
don't
project?
believe so, but I'll let the applicant answer that if that's all right.
Sure, thank you.
I'm sorry, Ashley, can you repeat the question?
Is there a contemplated application for example, tax benefits from the Industrial Development Agency for this project?
No, there isn't.
Okay, so it's anticipated that this project will go on the tax rolls up at the new assessed value?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. I think at this point, we would just make a general, you know, a general request and for involvement with this, continued involvement going forward with the school district on matters such as this and contemplated developments. And again, just noting a general concern about the overall impacts of continued multifamily developments on the district and enrollment. Particularly, you know, Mr. Foley mentioned that the district suffers from an inability to raise additional funds, for example, to add capacity or to existing school buildings, or you know, a brand new school building, that does take time too. So as much notice as possible would be significant in helping the district mitigate these types of impacts. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, do we have anyone else? Zoom?
I make a motion to close the public hearing on Merritt Creek Townhouses.
Second it?
Vote, please. Bear?
Yes?
Nenaro?
Aye.
Hogan? Hogan?
Yes.
Hogan. Dennis Heskey? Woski, yes. Gotta get used to saying the other name. All right. Our next public hearing is 818 Roanoke Minor Subdivision with Greg Bergman.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me? All right, thank you. For the record, Greg Bergman, planner with the town of Riverhead. So this is a public hearing for a two-lot minor subdivision known as 818 Roanoke Avenue Minor Subdivision. It's an application seeking approval to subdivide an existing 30,199 square foot lot, or 0.69 acre parcel, create two separate building lots, one being a 15,031 square feet, or 0.345 acres, the other being 15,168 square feet, or 0.348 acres. The planning board for this application did review the application, and by resolution number 23-021 dated March 16th of 2023, assumed lead agency initiated a negative declaration. Approval of the application did require relief from the Zoning Board of Appeals for creating substandard lots within the Business PB zoning use district. The applicant received the necessary relief from the Zoning Board of Appeals by appeal number 2023-023 with determination dated April 27th, 2023. Just some very brief information on the property. It is, like I said, located at 818 Roanoke Avenue on the east side of Roanoke Avenue. It has approximately 100 feet of frontage on Roanoke Avenue. It's about 300 feet deep, and it does go all the way through to Pondview Road. It is somewhat of a unique zoning anomaly in that zoning district. Along Roanoke Avenue on the east side, the zoning is Business PB. When you get to Pondview Road, it switches to RA40. However, being that this is the only through lot that has frontage on both Roanoke and Pondview, the entirety of the property is designated as Business PB. Is my understanding the applicant is looking to subdivide One of the things that came up early on in the review was the recommendation that, in keeping with the character of the area, lot number 2 on the Pondview side only be developed with a single-family residential parcel, which is now a permitted use in that zoning district. I do have an applicant, representative here from the application, Lisa Poyer, if the board has any questions, or we can open it up to the members of the public.
Lisa Poyer, Twin Forks Permits, 288 East Montauk Highway, Hampton Bays, New York, 11946. As Greg has described, this is a unique lot. The applicants are looking to do a 2-lot subdivision. The proposed property along Pondview, we will agree to sign a covenant that it will be used as residential use moving forward in the future. The current lot, which is the development part, which is on Roanoke Avenue, right now has a house on it, and that will be continued to be a house right now. In the future, it could be converted to any other additional permitted or special exception use that will be allowed in the PB zone. And any other questions, please let me know.
Just right now, it's going to stay as residential on the Roanoke Avenue side?
Correct, and if we do decide to change it to a permitted use or a special exception use, we do understand that we'd have to come before the planning board to change that use and go through site plan.
Excellent.
And just for the board's knowledge, one of the considerations in the review of this application, just to make sure we weren't going to create a situation where the applicant would need further relief from the Zoning Board of Appeals, the applicant did prepare a sort of rough sketch for a site plan that demonstrated if in fact that single-family residence were to be converted to a professional office, which is permitted use, they would be able to facilitate all of the parking and all the infrastructure on site. So we weren't just sort of kicking us down the road of creating a never-ending ZBA, application. So that was contemplated for potential future use.
All right, anyone want to come up? Do we have anyone on Zoom?
Make a motion that we close the public hearing for 818 Roanoke Avenue for a minor subdivision. So moved?
Second.
Vote, please. Bear?
Yes.
Nenaro?
Aye.
Hogan?
Aye.
Dennisesky?
Aye.
Woski, yes. All right, that concludes our public hearings for today. We're now going to move on to our discussion items. Just want to make mention again that there are seats up here if anybody would like to come forward and sit down. Our first discussion is Eagle Auto Dealership remodel with Matt Charters.
Chance, I have Chris Kent, the applicant's attorney here, and I think we might have a couple of the ownership group here as well. Any more chat?
Matt, Ed has it.
Yes.
Did we receive elevations of this?
They should have been in the packet. If not, I emailed them to you. I do have a set. I gave you a rendering tonight.
Oh, this is one of us, tonight, okay.
Do you want to?
No, thank you.
Good? Okay. All right, for the record, Matt Charters plan for the town of Riverhead. We have a site plan application for the demolition and reconstruction in kind in place for a portion of the building located at 1330 Old Country Road, as well as facade improvements to that building, and then facade improvements to the building at 1320 Old Country Road. And we're also proposing here to widen the curb cut onto Osborne Avenue. If everyone's familiar, this is the Eagle Auto Mall, formerly Fairmont. Pretty straightforward application. In terms of secret, this is a type 2 action because it is in kind in place. It's a 10-acre parcel within the BC zoning use district. Currently, there's 3 buildings there, the 2 dealership buildings in the front, and then the parts storage in the back, warehouse in the back. And this ownership group, if you remember, Greg is reviewing an application for a dealership across the street, same ownership group, so one of the brands will be no across the street, and they're going to be doing a refresh here, which is an improvement to what's existing, I think, anyway. In terms of the plans we've received, we did get a landscape plan on this application. If you've driven along 58 in Osborne, you'll notice there are some evergreen plantings. However, there's no street trees. So one of the things I've asked for from the applicant is an update to the plan, just to show some street trees. I gave them a variety of appropriate species to include, just to really improve that, frontage along the busy roadway. We did get an outdoor lighting complaint that complies with the code. This went to ARB on June 28th. They found it generally to be acceptable, but did withhold their approval just because they didn't have that landscape plan. Town engineer had no comments on the application. The highway superintendent noted that this will require a road opening permit just because they're widening the access onto Osborne, so that'll allow the delivery trucks to pull onto Osborne and onto the site rather than taking deliveries in the middle of the road. Fire marshal asked for signage for a fire zone. We don't have any comments yet from the Riverhead Fire District, and the Planning Commission found this to be a matter for local determination. I do have an administrative approval for tonight with conditions, obviously for ARB approval. That's pretty much it. I mean, if you see the renderings that I gave you guys, it's going to be a nice improvement. It'll really reduce the scale of the eastern building, so it's not going to appear as massive. They kind of work well together, and I think with some additional plantings, it'll look really nice.
I remember when it was J.J. Hart Ford. It looks a lot better now.
Yeah. So I don't know if anybody had any questions for Chris and the team. For me?
Looks great.
I have a question. Will turning lanes be put in to enter the dealership that aren't there now, so it's not traffic on 58?
I think there's a shared left turn on 58 there, as far as I know.
There's a center turn lane,
Yeah.
but there's no
there's-
westbound right turn lane.
Correct, yeah.
Right, that's what I'm
Yeah, there isn't, as far as I know now.
We are planning to widen the
Chris,
entrance off of Osborne.
if you could just introduce yourself.
Oh, excuse me, Christopher Kent, attorney for the applicant, Dennis. We are planning to widen the curb cut on Osborne Avenue, which will allow trucks that are delivering vehicles to enter the site. Currently, the tractor trailers are, what do you call those? Car carriers.
Talk up a little bit.
The car, excuse me?
Can you just speak up a little bit so
The
that
car
everybody can hear you?
carriers currently parked in the middle of County Road 58, and the cars are taking off the car carrier from the middle of the road. So this will allow the car carriers to enter into the site. It will make it a much better location for the dealership by allowing that. Also, it should be noted that there currently, or there were recently, 4 dealerships on that property. This will be reduced to 2 dealerships, and one of the dealerships is moving across the street. That's the point. So I think it will enhance this thing. And if you do look at the renderings we have here, it's giving it a more modern look than what is currently there. Oh, I'm sorry, Kevin. I thought you were holding it. I apologize. It's a more modern look to what is there now, where it's the big columns with the big columns in the front. This will be less mass too along the road. It'll be much lower in height.
I like it.
Nice.
Very good.
And we have no problem, we're going to work with Matt, or work with the planning staff on a landscaping plan that could be acceptable to both the planning staff and to the ARB.
Excellent.
Any other questions?
No?
That's it?
Nope.
You got it all set?
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Remember J.J. Hart Ford now?
Me? No.
Nope.
Sorry.
You guys are much too young, I guess.
I remember King Shop Flag.
Yeah, oh yeah. Bowling alley. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, Greg. Let's move on to 8 Oak Street, Chapter 219.
All right, thank you. I will just ask Jim DeLuca, he's the architect for the applicant, to come up to the table. He's here if the board has any questions. So this is a Chapter 219 application, which is seeking approval to perform certain improvements at the site of an existing single-family residence, which is located at 8 Oak Street in Wading River. That property is located within the Residence B80 zoning district. The reason it's before the board is these improvements are located within the coastal erosion hazard area boundary, thus requiring a Chapter 219 application. The proposed improvements include removing and reconstructing an existing rear yard enclosed porch, which will be converted to living space, removing all existing exterior wood decks and to construct new, remove and reconstruct an existing one-car garage located in the front yard, construct a new retaining wall on the east side of the property with a 4-foot chain link fence on top, and they're going to remove the existing sanitary cesspools and install a new IA on-site wastewater treatment plant. As I said, the property is located at 8 Oak Street and Wading River. It is improved with a single-family residence and a one-car detached garage. That was issued a letter of pre-existing use on February 23rd of 1988. And the property is also improved with a functional steel bulkhead on the north end of the property, which was reconstructed in 2014 due to Superstorm Sandy damage.
Is there any disturbance seaward of the seawall?
No, everything is landward, and just to jump ahead, so they did get a letter of no jurisdiction from the New York State DEC because of that functional bulkhead. The proposed action is an unlisted action pursuant to SECRET with coordinated review being optional and not recommended. Being that they've obtained the letter of no jurisdiction from the DEC, they've also received Suffolk County Department of Health Services Office of Wastewater Management approval for the construction of the new IA system. At this time, staff recommends the planning board assume lead agency and issue a negative declaration pursuant to SECRET, as there's no significant negative environmental impacts anticipated from the proposed action. Approval of the application did require relief from the Zoning Board of Appeals for maximum impervious surface coverage, for a proposed detached garage located in the front yard, for proposed side yard setback on the decks, and for the proposed height of the wall and fence on the eastern side of the property. The applicant did receive that relief from the Zoning Board of Appeals by appeal number 22-028 with determination dated July 28th, 2022. The plan was reviewed by the town engineer. He just had one comment regarding the manufacturer's specifications on the retaining wall on the east side, just to demonstrate that it can bear the weight of the load-bearing soils from the neighboring property. This one's pretty straightforward. Again, no real damage, no real hazard or cause for any erosion going over the bulkhead.
Did you do a site visit there?
I did.
What's the condition of because it's a steel?
Oh, I mean, it was actually, there's a picture I took on page 3 of the staff report. Bulkhead was in great condition, there was no, run out or anything, it was great condition. Again, no real coastal erosion hazard damage per se on this application. So I do have a resolution that would issue the secret determination and grant the 219.
What's the condition of the bluffs? The bluff. What's the condition of the bluff?
Well, over in that area, there really isn't any bluff.
Oh, really? Okay.
Pardon me?
Your name, please?
Oh, it's Jim DeLuca.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, there is no really bluff in that area now. It's,
It's all bulkhead.
Bulkhead.
yeah, it's bulkheaded and there's some planting on the east side. But as far as, while we're removing the decks, none of them had any permits. So we're just taking them off and redoing them. And the back porch, it's in actually poor condition. It wasn't built very well, so we're taking that down and putting it back in the same envelope that exists. And we're putting a new septic system and moving the garage over to accommodate this septic system.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Project's basically about the same size as the other one. The other one was a 2, they just covered up one door.
What's that?
I said, it looks like they just covered up one door. It was a 2-car garage before.
Well Properties propane storage site plan.
All right, thank you. So this is just a very brief update. The board is reviewing a site plan application which is seeking approval to construct an 18,000-gallon liquid propane storage tank to be used for storage and distribution of LP gas at an existing commercial site on Edwards Avenue, located at 120 Edwards Avenue. Approval of this application required a special permit from the town board for the storage and distribution of non-toxic gases. The town board granted that approval actually this afternoon at their meeting by town board resolution number 23-519. So I do have a resolution, the next step in the process. I have a resolution to schedule a public hearing on the application for the site plan. That meeting would be on August 3rd.
Where did they ever get the name Do Well?
So the applicant's last name is Dowell, so I think it's just sort of a play on his last name.
All right, let's move on to 740 Main Road Professional Medical Office, again with Greg.
All right, thank you. So again, just a very quick update. So this is an application to convert an existing 1.5-story building located at 740 Main Road in Aquabog. I apologize, we do have Martin Finnegan, attorney for the applicant. So this was discussed by the, town board received a special permit to allow for the conversion of the existing building to a professional medical office, which is a specially permitted use within the RLC zoning use district. The special permit was reviewed by the planning board at their May 18th meeting. It served two purposes. We reviewed the site plan, what they're proposing, as well as a referral per town code for the special permit. The town board also this afternoon did grant the special permit by resolution number 23-518. So really the improvements to the site are very limited. They're not changing the facade. They're not altering the building in any way. They are adding additional parking on the existing parking lot to the rear of the building. They're going to update landscaping and update lighting to comply with the town's dark sky compliant lighting code. This application firmly falls under the purview of the administrative site plan review, which states that existing buildings less than 4,000 square feet are basically treated as an administrative review as long as the planning department makes a determination that it meets the intent of the code. The planning board grants an administrative approval. So I do have a resolution on. There was one addition which I will, again, speak to when we get to the actual resolutions. Member Bayer just noted the requirement for the approval from the Suffolk County Department of Health Services for the increase in the sanitary flow. They are going from what was a retail store with some assorted uses, some tasting rooms. I just want to make sure that the on-site sanitary system is sized adequately. So one of the conditions I'm going to put, and we're going to vote on it as amended, on condition number 5, that no building permit shall issue until the chairperson of the planning board signs the Mylar prints. We're going to add condition number VI to state that the applicant receives approval from the Suffolk County Department of Health Services for the increase in sanitary flow.
Mr. Finnegan, I'm sorry. Do you know what the use is? Are you able to disclose what the use is going to be?
Sure. So my clients are going to be opening an integrative health and wellness facility at the site.
Very good.
And that health department application is pending, so I actually should hoping for that any day right now.
Good reuse of a vacant building.
Yes, absolutely.
One of the things we've always heard just through the comp plan updates is, you know, the town residents, the town board is desirous to see vacant buildings reused. This really is a perfect reuse of that existing building.
And we spoke last time that you're going to, keep the shingles, the integrity of
I mean, there's
what the building
landscaping
is.
and cleanup.
Yep, great.
Yep.
Yeah, I can't wait. It's an eyesore right now.
It's gonna be great,
So, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Wait for the next one too.
All right, Greg, you're a popular guy today.
Yes, getting some of these applications through that have been floating around for a bit.
Yes.
So This is just a quick discussion on the Peconic Farms major subdivision application. This is an application which is seeking approval to subdivide an existing 9.57 acre parcel of land which is located on the south side of Peconic Bay Boulevard at 1161 Peconic Bay Boulevard. The property is zoned RA40. So the planning board did approve on this application. They approved a 7-lot as-of-right yield map that complies with the current RA40 zoning. The planning board on May 5th of 2022 approved a 6-lot sketch plan. The applicant did reduce their yield voluntarily, so they are not subject to the Long Island Workforce Housing Act. They voluntarily reduced the density, which is within the provisions of the Workforce Housing Act code, which the town board adopted. There were this property is located in a flood zone, and there were some just engineering questions that the applicant's design professional, as well as Vinnie Gaudiello, we've gone back and forth, we reviewed it. We had a meeting with the design team, as well as Vinnie and myself, a couple of weeks ago. They've made the necessary revisions. We did receive a memo from Vinnie, just some minor comments, but he recommended engineering approval. So we are here to have a resolution here before the board to classify the action pursuant to SECRA, issue a negative declaration, and schedule a public hearing on the application. Again, that public hearing would be on planning board's August 3rd calendar.
What is the mitigation? Are you gonna bring material in or build walls or?
So the mitigation was achieved through clustering. As the board recalls, the development is really clustered along Peconic Bay Boulevard. There is going to be, I believe it's 4.99 acres on the south end, which is the bulk of the property that's located within that flood zone. That's going to be preserved as open space to be kept in its natural state, so.
Is that actually on the water, or is it one lot?
No, it's not directly on the water. There's a couple of properties between that and, I believe, the East Creek.
Thank you.
What was the reduced density down to?
The as-of-right yield was 7 lots. They reduced it by 1, so they're proposing 6 lots.
Thank you.
All right. Now we'll move on to Printed Places Major Subdivision.
All right, so again, another major subdivision application. This is an application seeking approval to subdivide an existing vacant 26.1 acre parcel of land, which is located on the north side of Middle Road in Riverhead. It's approximately 800 feet east of the intersection of Middle Road and Harrison. Excuse me. It's located within the Residence B40 zoning use district. So back in December of 2019, the planning board approved a 22-lot as-of-right yield map of the subject parcel, again, just demonstrating compliance with the RB40 zoning use district. By resolution dated August 19th, 2021, the planning board approved a 25-lot Long Island Workforce Housing Act compliant major subdivision sketch of the subject parcel. So again, the Workforce Housing Act afforded the applicant a 10% density bonus. So if you take 22 lots, 10% of that gets rounded up. So they got 3 additional lots. The result of that is that 3 lots within the subdivision will be reserved as workforce affordable housing. And the planning board in August of 2022 approved a 25-lot amended sketch plan of the subject property. There was a change in the contract vendee on the property, so they changed engineers. That was the reason for that amended sketch plan approval. So again, we do have a resolution to issue a negative declaration pursuant to SECRA and schedule a public hearing on the major subdivision application. Again, August 3rd calendar.
Okay. And last one.
Last one, all right. All right, so very quick update on the HK Ventures LLC site plan application. The application is proposing to develop a vacant 30-acre parcel of land on the south side of Middle Country Road in Calverton with a commercial industrial complex consisting of a total of approximately 413,000 square feet, along with a commissary, landscaping, lighting, improvements, new signalized access from Middle Country Road. The planning board undertook a significant and thorough SECRA review of this application. The planning board concluded its SECRA review by the adoption of a finding statement on April 20th of 2023 of this year. Once the planning board issued its finding statement, that cleared the way for the applicant to proceed with their zoning board of appeals application. The application to the ZBA was initially proposed, they were seeking variances from town code for the proposed height of the building. They sought variances for 38 feet. They since reduced that to 35 feet. And they were initially proposing impervious surface coverage on the subject parcel of 65.51%. They reduced that to 60.72% of the subject parcel. The ZBA did grant those necessary variances at their meeting on June 8th. And again, so that was a height of 35 feet approved by the ZBA and impervious surface coverage of 60.72, which is only a 0.72% increase above the allowable impervious. So the next step for reviewing the site plan application, again, schedule a public hearing for the application, which will be on the board's August 3rd calendar.
I'm missing something here. We gave them a conditional approval.
Well, so the board issued, there was no approval granted. The planning board adopted a finding statement which concluded the secret, which concluded the environmental review. The planning board has not granted any approvals yet for the project. We issued a finding statement. There were conditions in the finding statement relating to the environmental impact.
Okay.
But the planning board did not issue an approval at this point.
Okay.
The next step for the application is to schedule a public hearing on the site plan.
Which we're doing tonight.
Correct. The resolution before the board now tonight will schedule that public hearing for August 3rd.
Okay. All right, thank you, Greg. All right, before we move on to the public comments on the resolutions, I would actually like to comment myself. I have been very patient, and over all these months, I've listened to all of you, and I thank you for coming out week after week and being a part of Riverhead and the community. And I want you to understand that I am you. I am a resident of Riverhead. I was born and raised in this town. And I see your signs, and I know that you are upset, and I empathize with you. And probably if I wasn't sitting in this seat, I'd be sitting with you with my own sign. However, I am sitting in this seat. And I understand the part of the planning board process. And that is that we are not here to punish an applicant. We are here to move the application forward, to legalize the application. We're not here to make judgment. We're not here to create fines, just like someone that puts in a swimming pool in their backyard and a deck. We're not here to tell them that they have to take the swimming pool out, take the deck out, and then start the process all over. In a vote of no, which you are all requesting, well, the majority of you are requesting, with that no vote, basically nothing will get done. Tomorrow, perhaps, the town of Riverhead might have a lawsuit for that, because we actually have no reason, at least I do not have one, within the realm of my job as a board member to say no to this. What I can do is say yes to the resolution that we have before you today, which instead of nothing being done, a lawsuit with the town of Riverhead that's going to be at the cost of you, the taxpayers, myself, our board included, and it stays in litigation for a few years. And tomorrow, it's the same old thing. The cider house will still be there, no matter what happens tonight. What we can do is go with our resolution and request that the applicant remove the barn door structure that is located behind, he has an indoor stage inside the cider house, and it is clear to me that the only reason that that barn door is there is so that he can open it up and pipe out his music, because music is not allowed outside. Amplified music is not allowed outside. So this is how he has skirted around to get the music outside. I don't think that the residents want to hear that music. We also are drawing the line in the sand to say this is it. You are not to come before this board. Mr. Foley, please don't laugh. I've never done that to you. Thank you. He may not come before this board again and ask for any more expansion. It's over. And I know that sometimes in the past, perhaps you have been let down, but you have my word to the best that I'm able to give it to you, that I want to see that something comes out of this. It's not being dismissed, but we do not, as a planning board, have the power to do, I think, what some of you wish that we would do. So I just wanted to put my explanation, this is my feeling, and I thank you for your time and listening. I would also like to ask our council if you would please just kind of expand on where we stand as a board, because we do have to be held accountable for what we do up here.
Okay, well, I mean, I can address the issue of the role of the planning board. They are not code enforcement. The planning board is not here to enforce the code. They don't even have the power to enforce their own covenants. They have no investigative powers. Punishment is not in the purview of the planning board. That's for code enforcement and the town board. And I think in this particular case, there was some action taken by code enforcement with respect to the property. So they are not in a position to determine who bad actors are. They don't have the power to investigate or have hearings, et cetera, which an applicant would have the right to have. He would have due process, which is why that power is reserved to the town board and code enforcement, and it would go in front of a judge who would hear both sides and address that issue. So they're not here to punish, they are here to address the planning board application. And if it's an application that they would otherwise grant, they're not gonna deny it because they wanna punish somebody. So I don't know if that addresses your issue.
Thank you.
I'd like to take resolution number 46 for the Riverhead
No, we
Schoolhouse.
have the comment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, that was unintentional.
Good try, though.
Okay, who would like to come up first?
Good evening, Talkby Church and Greater Calverton Civic Association President. I'm coming first to break the ice. Thank you very much for your preface and your explanation to us. I do have some questions. I understand you don't have investigatory powers as the planning board, but when you do have an applicant who's come before you with the second expansion done without any permits, and these aren't just like adding a fence, little deck, major work, how come there's not a no? Hard no. How come that's not okay for you to do? Isn't that in your purview to do?
Well, just saying that because you've been here before and you've done this before is not a reason to deny it. That
Okay.
is something that I believe is up to the town board, the town attorney, and code enforcement.
I wonder, oh, thank you. Because I need the education that you're offering. Could you direct me to where I can find where you're coming from with those facts and your interpretation of what you're able to do as a board? Because I need the education, and I'm certain that folks here in the room
Yes.
need it also.
And I would
at
be
home.
happy to answer that for you. I can tell you that I personally have worked so hard with the planning department. They have put so much effort into this. We have been advised by legal counsel. This is why we have counsel in front of us, so that we can ask those questions and find out what's going to happen if we vote no and we end up in a lawsuit for the town of Riverhead. Are we going to, really have a good chance of winning? And the odds are no, because I really do not have a definite reason to say what the reason would be for saying no, except for he's come before us and done this before. That's not an explanation.
Yet your explanation for tonight is this is the last time you're allowed to ask for an extension, so I'm trying to put two
Not an
together.
extension. No, it says in the resolution,
Maybe I got that wrong, so please help me.
yes, that the applicant may not come before this board again and ask for further expansion.
Okay, sorry,
So
expansion.
it's-
Right, but you're able to do that tonight, why?
Because it's part of the resolution that has been developed tonight.
So I'm just
I know,
trying to follow the argument to make some logical sense. Could you write a resolution in which it says, you've come here before, you can't come again, and
Well, we
what
don't
you're
have,
citing
we don't
it?
have that language right now.
Right,
let-
so maybe one of the outcomes we'd like from tonight, if where we stand right now is, as you've said, perhaps we could come up with a better resolution? I guess
this
someone wants to answer the
resolution
question
has-
here, so I'll just step
Has really
aside.
been worked hard on.
Yes.
Thank you, Matt.
No problem. Matt Charters, planner for the town of Riverhead. So if the public's not familiar, the resolution is available online. There are 16 findings within the resolution to basically outlines the history of the Cider House, how we got here, and where we're going. In terms of Ms. Turchin's question, in terms of the finding the resolution, I can tell you specifically what it was. What number? I believe it's 13. Sorry, it's number 15. Planning board finds that as a condition of approval, any additional expansion of the subject use beyond the patio expansion, conversion of additional tasting room space, and parking in support of the said expansion shall be prohibited, as any additional expansion would exceed the customarily incidental and accessory nature of the processing and retail sale of tasting hard cider at the property. So this is a permitted accessory use to a permitted use based on a use permit that was issued in 2014. So this says, based on the size of what has been done so far, if you were to go beyond that size, it would go beyond what is an accessory use. It occupies roughly 11% of the total building area, which is 108,000 square feet. And it's completely within the building, absent that small patio area. Just clarify, good? Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to get into a debate with you if you
I need to understand, that's all. So if I'm following that, there's 11% of a change is what's directing you to be able to write the resolution you've written. Is that what that boiled down to?
No.
Okay.
Just saying the use as it stands now represents about 11% of the total building area. If you were to expand beyond that, the finding is that would go beyond what is customary and incidental and accessory.
Got
This
it.
is where the-
And we're, just for help and education, because I'm telling you, everybody in the room wants to know, it's not to be argumentative, it's to learn. Is there a threshold number on accessory, on an allowable
I would say
expansion to an accessory use?
It's looked at on a case-by-case nature
Okay.
per the given application. Each application is looked at, in context of the code and the application itself.
Okay. So separate question. When you first spoke with us, you said, hey, if I were not in my seat, I'd be in one of these seats with the same concerns. And yet you're in the seat you're in, and all of you folks are in the same seats. Do you believe that it would be helpful for you to write a memo of understanding to the town board with your concerns and your powerlessness to change what you see as wrong?
It was something that I would consider.
I thank you very, very much. We need that. And I'm going to do it again. We thank you for standing up for us with HK Ventures, especially to the planning department who advised you properly, and it's been a long road. And I know that there's a lawsuit on that. And I know that they went to ZBA and they got their 5-foot height variance from 30 to 35. We got to stick to the zoning, and you did, and we thank you, and everybody here knows it, and we speak of it, and we regard you as the one board that's listening to us and responding, and thank you very much. And Mr. Hogan, sorry I jumped right into speaking. I want to welcome you as the newest member to this planning board, and it's the longest agenda I've seen in recent memory, and I I thank you very much for joining the board. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Please don't cry.
I promise. How are you doing? Mr. Hogan, welcome. What a distinguished application you have, resume you have. Just outstanding. I appreciate it. Well, thank you, everybody. We're trying. Here I go. Oh, Amanda Graham's Reeves Park. You know, it took me like an hour today. I'm racking my brain. I'm looking around on the internet, and I couldn't find any other road on Long Island that is preserved, agricultural, historic. Couldn't find it. Tell me, give me one. The good people of this town and the boards put it into the comprehensive plan for a reason to keep it that way. I know there's legalities, what uses, what square foot, all that, I get it. But weddings is not. And that's what I also think is the problem here, is the usage of the wineries, the usage of the buildings. We went through this with Baiting Hollow, and the music over there, and the amphitheater over there, and the weddings, and then we catch the video over here of another wedding, and we're seeing, we got enough.
I agree with you. However, that is code enforcement. That is not this board. And I wish that I had other things that I could say about it, but that's not our position. And I feel bad when you come up, not you specifically, but everybody, when the community comes up and says, we don't want weddings there. That's code enforcement. That's the town board and the town attorney.
I get that, but it's not even that we don't want, it's not coded for it either. So all of us here, we stop at stop signs, we do the right thing, we don't build out of compliance, or our neighbors are gonna say something and we'll be brought down, right? So here, somebody just snubs their nose and is like, let's go for it. And you have it once, and wow, that was great, and this is how much money I made in that much time. Roll them in. I'm not begrudging somebody having a business, believe me. I'm not. I'm all for the American dream, but not at the expense of residents who live, eat, and sleep in this beautiful, beautiful country we have. God bless Sound Avenue.
Anyone else?
Good evening, Sally Mackin. Still there. Good evening, Sally Mackin. I live in the Fox Hill community in Baiting Hollow, and I just want to echo what the two previous speakers said, that we understand and we appreciate your empathy with what we're dealing with on Sound Avenue and the historic corridor that we bought here or grew up here appreciating. What we want to make sure is that somehow there is something in the resolution that doesn't just carbon copy what was in there in 2015, because this applicant has not adhered to those covenants that were in there. And we really, as residents, have no reason to think that they will do so in the future. And what we're really, truly terrified of is the precedent that becomes set for everybody else who's got any kind of a grapevine or apple tree or whatever else, that they want to do the same with an abandoned barn. It is simply not an acceptable use of our historic corridor. The traffic, the noise, just the unbearableness of it is not what we're here for. So thank you for listening, and we appreciate your empathy with what we're doing, what we're trying to do.
Right. CNRs are mentioned.
Did you get her name? Did you get her name?
Did a nice job with
Evening, George Bartnick from Calverton. I was thinking this afternoon that I probably got up here and said, voiced more opinions about the expansion of the use of the cider house than all of my oratory on 4 years sitting on the town board, honestly.
I'm not touching.
I've heard the argument that you're not a policing force, and that you not responsible for code enforcement, and I can understand that. That goes way back to what Stan Carey, that was his position when he was the chairman of the planning board, and I understand that. But I think if there was ever a situation that ever came before you to vote no, this would have to be it. This would be sending a message out to all the developers who are looking at Sound Avenue for future expansion of non-conforming uses. You would be saying, no, we're going to take a stand here. When we had all the public hearings, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that there were 3 people at the last public hearing that got up in favor of the cider house. One was an employee, I think one was a neighbor, spoke favorably of living next door to the cider house. And then the other one was a person who, she sold some goods at the entrance to the cider house, and she thought that it would be terrible if the cider house went away. She wouldn't be able to sell her trinkets or whatever it was. But if you think about what those 3 people said, and the people here in the audience would agree, the cider house is there, it's going to stay there. It's a nice venue. My wife and I went there once or twice. It's a nice family gathering. But none of those people that got up in favor of the cider house, not one of them gave you a good reason to allow the expansion of the use of the cider house. Even Mr. King, who I believe is here tonight, and his attorney during that public hearing, they didn't get up and explain to you why it is really necessary for the expansion of the use of that property. It's a non-conforming use. It started out as a conforming use.
Yeah.
It's not a non-conforming use.
Yes.
It is a
It's a conforming use.
That's the difference. You
Yes.
need to know that.
Where did we ever get to, if I, now maybe I haven't read the town code correctly. In the APZ, which is what the cider house is located in, it's not a permitted use, it's not a specially permitted use. Please clarify.
Yeah, George, finding number 1, which is on page 3 of the resolution. So May 15, 2012, the use permit ZB 375222 was issued by Sharon Kloss, building permits coordinator, allowing for agricultural processing and warehouse on the subject property. So that's the agricultural storage building and warehousing that they do there. And then by letter dated December 12, 2014, the building and planning administrator found that the proposed use, which was the cider house, to be considered an accessory use customary and incidental to the May 15th, 2012 use permit.
We know how it got there, and we know that there's a lot of questions of how it got to that point. A lot of questions. I asked Mr. Murphy, when this took place, I emailed him and I said, could you please explain to me how it's possible to go from a storage warehouse operation to go to where you're going to have a tasting of cider? And I appreciate that, and he said, I'm not going to comment on it any further. That was his email back to me. But the fact of the matter is, if you look at the actual situation that you have there, it just doesn't belong there. It's not a permitted use according to the town code. I know what happened with all the public hearings and the processes that it got to where it is. But if there was ever a situation where the planning board should take a stand and send a message out to people who want to come to this town, and they want to develop this kind of stuff on Sound Avenue, this would be the time to say, no, enough.
Hi, Kathy Kirkpatrick. I live in Baiting Hollow.
Can you pull your mic down just a little bit? Thank you.
Kathy Kirkpatrick. I live in Baiting Hollow. I just want to make this perfectly clear. This is not an extra little swimming pool or deck in somebody's backyard. This building is enormous. Property is quite large and substantial already. We all know from the get-go that these people ignored all sorts of permits, health code regulations to do what they wanted to do to make money. Now we're here once again, okay? We don't want another situation that happened before, where they went ahead, did whatever they wanted to do, and then it gets approved after the fact. Isn't that nice for them? Okay? I understand something about you're non-investigative or whatever, but I do think that you are setting a really wrong precedent to let people come in here, do whatever they want to do, without regard to town permits, health code regulations, or whatever, and then get it rubber stamped at the end. We all know what a wonderful, fabulous place we have here. We all know the expansion of the North Fork. And if this is allowed to continue in the town of Riverhead, to let people do whatever they want to do, and then, I needed a permit? Oh, excuse me. And then you go ahead and approve it after the fact, we have some issues here that we need to discuss.
Claudette Bianco, Baiting Hollow. I have to do exactly what everybody else has done. You are undermining your own authority. What good is having rules if you approve it? If you approve it after the fact. And I appreciate the explanation that you and the attorney gave, and I know you're between a rock and a hard place. I know that. That's not a comfortable place to be, and I'm glad I'm not sitting up there.
Thank you.
However, that being said, you will be held accountable for your decisions. Who's holding Mr. King accountable? As far as I can tell, nobody, because he's done it before. He will continue doing it. So next time, it won't be an expansion. Next time, he'll have a wedding on his back porch or whatever. He's going to break the rules because he's proven to you and the town board that he's a rule breaker. Rules are not meant for him. And giving him the permission and making him take down a door or something, even though it might be something much larger than what I'm citing, that's not telling him what he did is completely wrong. And the lady before me is right. You're setting a precedent that every developer is going to break.
Somebody left their Halleckville hat up here.
I got it. Thank you.
George. My name's Barbara Ripple. I now live in Calverton. It's been 9 months, and I enjoy it very much. The thing is, you were talking about punishing people, okay? And I understand that that's a problem for you, like a hard, in between a rock and a hard place. But what about punishing us? What about my house? The value of my house with all of this stuff going on around there, all the noise, all the pollution, all the draw on our water. You were talking before about kids in school. What about the sewage systems? All those things are now affected by these decisions that they're going to make. And we're hoping you know, you understand those kinds of things. I mean, I put everything into this little house that I just bought. So the value's gonna go down, down, down. You're punishing me. You're punishing everybody here.
Oh, no.
Mike Foley, Reese Park. Joanne, let me start off by apologizing for my involuntary laugh. I want you to take it at face value. I did not mean to laugh. What made me laugh involuntarily was what I perceived you saying as the chair of the planning board, that you were there to approve things and that you had no code enforcement right. We're not asking you to enforce anything. We're asking you to establish a unanimous no vote so that code enforcement can enforce things. They can't enforce things that you approve. They can only enforce things that you deny. So that was what caused my involuntary laughter, and again, I apologize for it. And I thank you for having this adjourned hearing at 6 o'clock. You see the difference in attendance between 2 o'clock and 6 o'clock. But I speak out to oppose the Riverhead Cider House forgiveness resolution. And John, this resolution was postponed because Dick O'Day didn't get here. And then shortly after that, Dick O'Day, my apologies, Joe, my apologies. We were missing a member. And now we found out that Dick has left, and I too want to thank him for his service. It's not easy to put in the time and effort that you guys do, even when I disagree with a lot of the things. Even when I disagree with a lot of decisions you make. And of course, Eddie, I'll talk to you about that also. But John, I just wanted to know, you've had some time. Were you able to read up on the resolutions, histories of the Cider House, the 2015 resolution and the 2017 resolution? Did you have a chance to look at that?
I've done some reading, and I was briefed by legal.
Thank you, John. Well, I just want to mention a couple of things. And again, Joanne, I'm going to come back to you because the yes on this is for a wedding reception hall. It's not for an additional space for an overflow, as the June 2023 resolution put it. It's for you to legalize and establish a wedding hall on the historic Sound Avenue corridor. Now, that's not supposition on my part, because we actually saw the advertising by the Cider House on his website in February 2nd, 2023. A great space for events such as weddings, bridal showers, large parties. You were provided a video that showed a wedding taking place in the Cider House. In that 2015 resolution, John, I'll just mention it quick, it's going to be real quick. The covenants that Jay King agreed to was that there shall be no special events such as weddings, festivals, or fairs held on the subject property. That there shall be no full-service restaurant or catering conducted on the subject property. Now, we know that the wedding that was conducted at the Cider House was catered. But I also, again, when this came back before 2015, actually, they talked about, in order to generate some income from food, they talked about a grab and go. It's in the legislature. A grab and go to go along with the Cider House tasting. And of course, on that same February 2nd, 2023 website, on the cafe menu, is just after they show you the menu. They say, before placing your order, please inform your server if a person in your party has a food allergy. So the grab and go concept, which got the foot in the door, has been a canard all along. In fact, after he agreed, that this planning board agreed to a grab and go, we knew that there were pizza ovens installed. And I think that was the first act of forgiveness that the planning board implemented in 2017. The fact that they let that slide, which I guess emboldened the applicant. The 2017 resolution, John, has a couple of things that are also germane to this application. That no changes to the size, configuration, or location of the kitchen, food preparation area, including walk-in coolers, shall be permitted without site plan approval. Again, and to follow that up, number 5 of the covenant that this applicant swore to and signed, no material change in the types or addition of food preparation and/or cooking equipment or appliances shall be permitted without site plan approval. So Joanne, I'll come back to you because one of the first things you did when you were appointed as chair of the planning board was the Baiting Hollow Farm Vineyard application came before this board. This applicant duly applied, filed the paperwork, went through a public hearing, where at that public hearing, I just asked it because the intent of this was for a 6,048 square foot wine tasting pavilion at the Baiting Hollow Farm Vineyard. And I asked during the public hearing if it was possible that it could be used for something else. And the applicant was honest and said, yeah. And I said, is it possible that it could be used as a wedding venue? And he said, yeah. And then I think I looked directly at Stan Carey, your predecessor, and said, Stan, he's putting this in for a wedding venue. It is that simple. So it came before this board, and before you ruled or voted on that resolution, you had a statement that was, you visited the property. You saw what the Baiting Hollow Farm Vineyard was and was about to become, and you voted no. You voted no to that wedding reception hall for somebody that applied for it. What kind of a signal is it going to send if you say yes to one that was not applied for? This is not conjecture. We are not talking about an applicant that has, without permission, without filing an application, built a 6,681 square foot segregated catering hall. It is separated by a wall and a door from the rest of that place. It's used for an individual purpose. He's already shown it. We have seen the video. This is a 500 square foot larger wedding venue than without an application that was denied by this board for Baiting Hollow with an application. So I know what you're saying, that you're not here to enforce. We don't want you to enforce it. We want you to enforce the planning board's opinion of them doing something without permission. We want you as a planning board to say, the same way as the Baiting Hollow Farm Vineyard was denied a catering hall on the historic Sound Avenue corridor, this guy cannot be approved by flouting the application process. I'm going to end with a couple other things. John, I know you were paying attention. And, you know, sometimes dead relatives come into play. 48 years ago today, July the 6th, 1975, the Sound Avenue was named a historic corridor. Sound Avenue, by an act of state legislature and Governor Carey, has declared the former Indian Path a scenic and historic corridor. In honor, quote, in honor and celebration of the bicentennial and the role of Long Island in the American Revolution, this road thus will be protected. This is July the 6th, 48 years ago today. All of us remember Ken LaValle, our state senator, 44 years. This man did nothing but do everything he could to protect the historic nature, not only of Sound Avenue, but of the entire environment on the on the North Fork of Long Island. The Peconic Land Trust, the North Fork Environmental Council, the Pine Barrens Commission. All of these things spoke to this guy about what he was doing to preserve our open space. And here we are tonight, where you, who voted no, so importantly, on an application, are getting ready to say yes to an applicant that didn't have the that didn't have, thank you, didn't have the decency to put on an application. So this guy was caught not just with a wedding venue. He has increased his patio space by 30% without permission. And he has the audacity in the June application, whereas the Riverhead Planning Board's in receipt of a site plan application entitled Riverhead Cider House, which proposes to legalize a 1,294 square foot expansion of an existing 3,186 square foot outdoor patio. And as well as the conversion of a portion of the wine storage area into an additional tasting room area labeled Overflow Assembly. He's calling his catering hall, his wedding reception hall, an Overflow Assembly. It doesn't pass the sniff test. It has been disproven by video, and it is incumbent on this board to stop these rogue actors before they take over the entire historic Sound Avenue corridor. I'm gonna end with this, and of course, I'd love to exchange any conversations with anybody here. Eddie, we have disagreed with a number of things over the years. But, you know, you were one of the guys that put together the application to declare a moratorium on the industrial development of Calvert. This entire board unanimously approved that, and unfortunately, our town board wouldn't even entertain a public hearing to discuss it. Shame on them. Thanks to you guys for that. But here we are now, and Joanne, you got me scared to death with what you started off here with, because it sounds to me that no matter what anybody says up here, you have made up your mind that that door that will allow sound to escape is more important than putting a catering hall on Sound Avenue. That's what they are doing. There's no way of sugarcoating it. Matt, you tell me, Greg, you tell me where I'm wrong as far as a catering hall on the historic Sound Avenue corridor. You can't. It is not an accessory use to what this has become. It is a flagrant violation of the historic Sound Avenue corridor. I'm gonna end with this. John, you just got sworn in, so this is gonna sound familiar to you. This is the oath that all 5 of the planning board members swear to before taking their term. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties as member of a planning board according to the best of my ability, so help me God. So, what does faithfully performing the duties of a planning board member mean? Does it mean that when an applicant who comes before it, who has knowingly violated the zoning requirements and been told he cannot do something, chooses to do what is not permitted, that you will even do worse than turn a blind eye? You'll approve it without regard to the community or the law. Actually, it is questionable whether this board approval is actually lawful under state law. I'll end with this. Who needs a planning board? If business owners can do whatever they want without an application, get caught, ask forgiveness, and get a rubber stamp approval from the board that they thumb their noses at. Joanne, you have a chance here to change your mind on this. I've shown you, this is not an expansion of a pre-approved whatever. This is a wedding catering hall that he has put in. He's already started it. I'm not asking you to enforce the no. I'm asking you to give us a unanimous no so that me and like-minded citizens can go to our town attorney, can go to code enforcement and say, we just got a no here. Now have them tear up the patio blocks, have them wall off the 6,000 square foot room, and have him make sure that no other parking spaces are built. That's what we're asking of you. You say no like you did to the Bating Hollow Farm Vineyard, and let us do the rest. We'll take care of code enforcement. We'll take care of the town attorney. That's what we'll take care of. Eddie, you know, you've done so many good things in the last 6 months. It all actually make me, I look for a bean pod every once in a while to see if Eddie Denzeski has been transformed by some alien being.
Not yet.
You have done that. You've done that. You know what they did here. They thumbed their nose at this board. They thumbed their nose at us. They thumbed their nose at the process. John, this would not be a good vote for you to say yes to. This would be a vote. This would be a vote for you to say, I've got chapter and verse of everything I've just said that is 100% true. I'll be happy to share everything with you, but I'm telling you right now that a yes vote here brings the law and order, the lawlessness of whoever's out there, any other bad actors that say, if Cider House can get away with it, so can I. We cannot have that happen. And to end this, to say one other thing from George. I had 21 people in my two little houses this past weekend. Most of them were under the age of 30. All of them went to the Cider House. All of them. I stopped by for a drink. I bought a few drinks. I gave my people the girl a nice 25% tip like I always do. It's a good place the way it is now. It didn't belong there. Should never have been a wine and beer bar, but that's what it is. But so be it. I'm not asking you to cut them out of anything that existed before they violated these rules of building a 6,600 square foot place, adding 1,300 square foot of patio space, and having the audacity to say that they're doing it as an overflow crew. Yeah, if they put 36 more seats there, I guarantee there'll be another 100 people there. You can't allow this. Please, if you vote no, all 5 of you voting no, will send a signal to everybody looking here and everybody in this crowd that they will not be able to get away with this anymore. Thank you.
Madam Chairperson, I respect the position that you have taken. I appreciate. Oh, my appearance. Fred Joes, Louis Joes, Alan Aviles. I'm the attorney for John King and the Riverhead Cider House. I respect what you said before you started this meeting. Having been the village attorney for the village of Port Jefferson for a number of years, I understand the difficult positions that people have to take. I was a resident in Port Jefferson as well, and sometimes we're put in that position, so I fully respect what you had to say. A couple of things that I take issue with. There is no stage inside that door. I understand what you're referring to. There is no stage there at all. There has never been outdoor music at the Cider House. There are no speakers. There's never been an outdoor performer. There is outdoor music constantly at other facilities along Sound Avenue. I take no issue with that. People want to complain about that or call code enforcement, they can. A number of them advertise their concerts that go on routinely. The Cider House does not do that. There is no table service. There is no commercial kitchen. It's not a catering hall, and it's not a wedding facility. So people can say what they want. You can see it yourself. That doesn't exist. There was one event that took place quite a number of months ago for a family member, and it was videoed. I can't take issue with that. It happened, and we were fined for that.
You have to let him speak,
And
please, just like
with
you
all
did.
due respect, there is no advertisement for a wedding anymore. When that was called to the, there was one time on the website, and it was called to our attention by Mr. Foley months ago, and it was taken down immediately. It's never appeared since, so I respect your position. I trust that you will do the right thing. One thing that was mentioned earlier in response to the gentleman who was putting in a medical facility, there was a comment made that the town board likes seeing vacant buildings reused, especially ones that are eyesores. I don't think there's any better example in the town of Riverhead than the Riverhead Cider House. that took a plumbing supply building that was vacant and an absolute eyesore and a non-conforming use and turned it into a beautifully aesthetic place on Sound Avenue that people like to go to. And I would ask that you follow that precedent.
All right. All right. Oh, are there any other comments? If you're not up at the podium, you can't say
A little
anything.
respect for other speakers, please. I'd like to take resolution number 46 from Riverhead Side House off the table, so moved.
Second?
Vote, please. Bear?
Yes.
Nenaro?
Aye.
Hogan?
Yes.
Nacesky?
Aye.
Woski, yes. Put it up for a vote.
We just took it off the table, correct? It's off the table. No, no.
No, it was
It was
tabled,
tabled.
It was tabled.
and now it's come for a vote.
I take back my standing
Duly noted.
You were like Simon Cowell with the glasses.
Now we're gonna move for a vote. Motion to bring resolution number 46 to the Riverhead Side House patio and tasting room for a vote, so moved.
I'll second.
Vote, please. Nenaro?
Aye.
Hogan?
Aye.
Nacesky?
I agree with pretty much everything Ms. Woski said, 99% of it. I'm a big supporter of the Riverhead Side House. I think it's a great addition to historic Sound Avenue. The inside and outside of the buildings and grounds are beautiful. The business is well-run and very family-orientated, and in my opinion, a great fit on Sound Avenue. I think it would be a great spot for a wedding or an event that I would love to support. But the covenants and restrictions, which were agreed by both sides and were recorded with the county, restrict special events and weddings. And I feel that these are event rooms. I have to vote no.
Before I vote, I just want to say I am in favor of most of the things in this resolution, but I am not in favor of the conversion of the tasting room, and I vote no.
I vote yes.
Move what next?
I'll move resolution 52.
Oh, you want to move on?
Kent Animal Shelter. So moved.
I'm sorry, which resolution is that? I'm sorry. Okay, thank you. I'll get it.
Do we have a
A
second?
second.
Vote, please. Bear?
Yes.
Nenaro?
Aye.
Hogan?
Aye.
Nacesky? Woski, yes.
I'll move resolution number 53, which grants site plan approval and, for the Riverhead Hyundai facade improvements and additions.
Second.
Vote, please. Bear?
Yes?
Nenaro?
Aye.
Hogan?
Aye.
Nacesky?
Aye.
Woski, yes.
Make a motion to move resolution number 54, Eagle Auto Dealership, resolution granting administrative site plan approval for the site plan application entitled Eagle Auto Dealership remodel.
Second motion?
Excuse me, our stenographer cannot hear to take the minutes, so we could just quiet for a second, please. Do we have a second? You second?
I did.
All right, vote, please. Bear?
Yes?
Nenaro?
Aye.
Hogan?
Aye.
Nacesky?
Aye.
Woski, yes.
I'll move resolution 55 for Dewell Properties propane storage unit to schedule a public hearing. So moved.
Second the motion?
Vote, please. Bear?
Yes.
Nenaro?
Aye.
Hogan?
Aye.
Dennisesky?
Aye.
Woski, yes.
Move resolution number 56 for 740 Main Road, granting administrative approvals for the site plan. So moved.
Second.
Vote, please. Bear?
Yes.
Nenaro?
Aye.
Hogan?
Yes.
Dennisesky?
Aye.
Woski, yes.
What is the vote on the side of house? We
I-
get a recap of the vote on the side of house?
We're in the middle of
the meeting.
finishing our resolutions. Okay.
Can we just finish the meeting, then you can come up and ask us any questions you like?
Okay, so what is the vote on the side of house?
We're in the middle of a meeting.
We're in the middle of reading the resolutions and voting.
I'd like to move resolution number 57, which issues a negative declaration and schedules a public hearing for the 6-lot major subdivision of Concord Farms.
Second.
Vote, please. Bear?
Yes?
Nenaro?
Aye.
Hogan?
Aye.
Dennisesky?
Aye.
Woski, yes.
Make a motion to move resolution number 58, 8 Oak Street, resolution granting approval for a Chapter 219 coastal erosion hazard area management permit.
I'll second.
Vote, please. Bear?
Yes?
Nenaro?
Aye.
Hogan?
Aye.
Dennisesky? Woski, yes.
I'll move resolution 59 for HK Ventures to schedule a public hearing on a site plan application. So moved.
Second the motion?
Vote, please. Bear?
Yes.
Nenaro?
Aye.
Hogan?
Aye.
Dennisesky?
Aye.
Woski, yes.
I move resolution number 60, which schedules a public hearing for HK Ventures.
Nope.
No.
60, Joe.
printed places.
That's already done. Go to
Oh,
60.
I have this as 60.
Oh, here.
I'm sorry. Oh, this one. Printed places. I don't know why I have it as 60.
We amended the resolution.
Oh,
The
you've been
the
helping.
agenda a couple
Yeah,
of
it's-
days ago.
Okay, anyway, I move resolution for printed places to schedule a public hearing on the subdivision to approve, to have a public hearing on printed places.
Second the motion?
Vote, please. Bear?
Yes?
Nenaro?
Aye.
Hogan?
Aye.
Dennisesky?
Aye.
Woski, yes.
I'll move resolution 50, 1309, OCR Automobile Dealership to classify a site plan application as a type 1 action and requested lead agency status. So moved.
Second the motion?
Vote, please. Bear?
Yes?
Nenaro?
Aye.
Hogan?
Aye.
Dennisesky?
Aye.
Woski, yes.
Okay, Dan, do what? Is that it?
That's it.
Okay, I had two different agendas, so it kind of got a little screwed up.
Okay, Mike.
Mike Foley, Reeves Park. Eddie, I want to thank you very much for your no vote. Joe, I want to thank you very much for your no vote. John, I don't know where you came from. I wouldn't have known you today, until today, unless I tripped over you. All I know is that a retired New York City firefighter, a guy that lives in Wading River, should have done his homework before giving a blanket yes to something that's going to cause abuse and disruption here for the next 20 years. There has been precedent in New York state law for planning boards at the same time to reopen a vote for reconsideration. John, you followed George's yes vote, I guess maybe anticipating, after what Joanne said, that everybody was going to say yes. And then the guy next to you that's been here for 25 years saw what was going on and said no. Would you like to reconsider your vote after hearing what Joe and Ed said? Because there is precedent for it. There is precedent for this in New York state law. So I want you to think about that for a second. And then I'd like to find out if you have another thing after hearing what Ed and Joe did. Guys that have been here 25 years, see the evil in this. I don't know why Joanne didn't understand it.
I
Jo-
understood.
No, you didn't. You don't understand. I don't understand. I don't understand how you could say no to a duly applied application for a wedding hall and say yes to one that they thumb their nose at you. I don't understand that. And if you understand it, you know you're running for election in November, people out here see that you don't understand it. And that'll be another problem. But I'll say it again, Joanne. You showed your medal the first time you came here for the Bating Hollow Farm venue, and you blew it up on us. You blew it up on every person in this town. You can be dealt with in November with the vote. John, you're a new guy, a guy that followed George's yes vote, and I don't know why that happened, George. I do know that in a public hearing, you said to the applicant, this is different. Doing this without an application is different. You said it, and then you make it a yes vote? How does that happen?
Mike, perhaps you didn't listen to what the attorney said and the statement that Joanne made. Why don't you go back and listen to this on television again, and then come back and tell me that you totally agree with what you just said. Go back and listen to what was said. All the reasons, excuse me, I didn't interrupt anybody here. Listen to what was said prior to this decision, and then come back and tell me that you disagree with what we said and why.
George, I appreciate the response, and I did listen. But I think we did an apples and oranges thing, no pun intended, in that Joanne posed her statement around not being able to enforce it. We didn't ask you to enforce it. We asked you to say no so that code enforcement could enforce it. We asked you to say no so that bad actors couldn't think they'd come in here and get a vote from people on something that they had denied with an application before. Why would anybody fill out an application with you people anymore? Why? I don't get it. So by the way, George, maybe if you listen to it, because I'll listen to the attorneys right here and I'll listen to Matt right here, right now. A non-conforming use extension is not a catering hall. It doesn't belong here. And if anybody here tells me it can belong here, we can discuss that, but I know it's not true. It's not true. And I do know what is true, is that you and Joanne and John have the ability to reopen this for another vote. And you heard what happened here. We have precedent in New York State that you can recall this vote. John, you're a new guy here. People up here have more time in the bathroom than you have on the stage. And here we are right now, after hearing a yes vote from George. You anticipated 5 votes, and instead, 2 of the most senior people on this planning board, a guy that nobody has defended owner rights more in this town than Ed Denzeski. And you heard Ed say no after seeing what was going on. And Joanne, I don't know why you heard it and then voted yes anyway. You again had the swing vote, and you threw it back in our faces. You thumbed your nose at us.
Mr. Foley, just so we're clear on the record, Bating Hollow Farms was not denied by this board. That application was withdrawn by the applicant.
Well, that's not exactly true.
It is true.
It's not exactly true.
We don't need to argue with it. It is true.
They withdrew the application after they saw it was going to be voted down. Don't pull that nonsense with me. Don't pull that nonsense with me. You got no shot. And you can roll your eyes all you want.
You stay away from it.
I'll consider the source.
Can you let the speaker speak, please?
Takwi Turchi, Greater Calverton Civic Association President. It's a tough night. That's what you're hearing. Mr. Hogan, I would hope that you, after hearing the possibility that there could be a revisit on this vote, very much appreciate it if you would allow yourself that leeway to reconsider your vote. And I don't know when that could happen. Council, is there a time frame where that can happen?
I don't, if the board asked to put them back on the agenda, but I don't see that happening.
I'm sorry, the
I
second
don't
part.
see that happening.
Well, why not?
The vote was already taken.
Right, but if you, I'm citing what Mr. Foley mentioned, that there's
What
precedent.
is that you're citing?
That there's
What law is
precedent.
that permits us to take a new vote?
I'm
because
taking
we
him
didn't like
on
it?
face value, I haven't done the research.
Yeah.
Can you tell me if there's no precedent?
There's not going to be another vote, it's already been voted on.
I'm sorry, the precedent, I'm just taking
I'm
Mike's
not
word for
aware of it.
Okay,
So-
so could we leave this with two things? One, could we do due diligence? Could you do due diligence on researching that so that we have the chance to have a revote if there's a possibility?
We've already voted on it.
I understand,
There's not
but
gonna
if
be a
there's
revote.
precedent for them to revisit it, we'd like to know. Yeah?
I'm not agreeing to anything, no. This is, I'm in answer to the planning board and the planning staff. There's no grounds for a revote here.
Maybe I'm not understanding your
I think that we all
role.
stand firm by
I'm sorry,
our
what?
votes. We're standing firm by our votes.
Okay, so I guess I thought I was directing to the proper person, asking if you could research the precedent. It sounds like I'm not asking the right person. Maybe I need to do this a different way. I'd like to know if there's precedent, and if there is, I'd very much like for something other than tonight for the vote to be revisited. But that's something for future to be researched. It gives us a chance. The other question I have, a request I have, Ms. Waske, is you mentioned you are amenable to a memorandum of understanding to the town board for the way that you feel as a resident. If you feel powerless as a planning board, perhaps you could act as a resident and craft a well-detailed letter. I know the one that you sent for the moratorium was fantastic. Yeah, it got discarded, but the effort has to happen, right? So I'd ask you that you would confirm that you would look into that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Claudette Bianco, Bating Hollow again. I hope you realize the precedent you set tonight. You voted, those of you who voted yes, potentially because of a possible lawsuit. You just opened yourself up to plenty of lawsuits with other developers. Do you think that's funny, Mr. Nanaro?
I don't know how you can say that. How did we open ourselves up to lawsuits? From who?
Stick around and
Okay.
watch what happens
Okay.
on Sound Avenue and in the other locations where the developers are going to just do as they please.
That's not true. That's
Really?
not true. There was no precedent.
Do you have a crystal ball? Can you
Sorry?
tell me that's not going to happen? You have a crystal ball that tells me that's not going to happen? Because I'll bet it does. Because you have just set the precedent that no matter the rules, no matter the code, no matter the process, do as you please, and then we'll approve it because of a little pressure. I'll bet that it's going to happen. And we will see who wins. But the point I'm trying to make is that the developers will run rampant on the fact that you're not holding their feet to the fire to follow the rules. Thank you.
Sorry. So if we're going forward, and now we're going to head towards the code enforcement department, and we're going to get them involved. I'm just playing devil's advocate. So we're going to say every weekend when there's a wedding, go down there and shut them down, because that's not allowed, right? Okay. So how many of those happen before we shut it down permanently? Like, I have done some other things with letter writing and talking to the code enforcement and trying to get some, things done in my community, as any good citizen would. And I feel like this is the next one. So how many of those happens in front of a judge to when he finally puts the nails on the door
You're
and says,
asking the wrong board.
you have no board?
We're the Riverhead Planning Board. We do subdivision and site plan.
That's
We
it.
don't do any enforcement. We don't create policy. We go by what policy is on the books.
So he was hit like last month with a couple of fines, correct?
I believe he was fined.
So 5,000? So let's go for the second fine and the third fine and then shut him down? Maybe we'll have to do
You have
that.
to talk to code enforcement or the town board.
I appreciate your answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. John Radigan, Riverhead, New York.
Go Cats.
I'm pretty much new to this town. I'm here only 13 years as compared to most everybody else, and I want to thank the planning board. I've served, on numerous committees where I lived in the city, and it's thankless. I'm aware of that. To just give you a little story about it, I'm retired now about 16 months. Moved out here, me and my wife fell in love with it out here. And interesting thing, the last 16 months, I have been diverted off of Sound Avenue because the police have to divert our vehicle off because a drunk driver has hit a person, place, or thing more times than in the last year that I was living in Queens. I was diverted off Queens Boulevard. You know what they call Queens Boulevard, right? The Boulevard of Death. Now, I'm not here to accuse the Cider House, Baiting Hollow, Roanoke, or any of them of putting drunk drivers on the road, but more of them are getting onto Sound Avenue. All right? And to use a little physics, if we put more tires filled with water on the side of the road, we will attract more mosquitoes. So, I know you're a planning board, you're not enforcement, but you have to consider this if you're gonna say, I'm one of these. I'm one of us. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Heather Trojanowski of Wading River. I wanted to first thank you guys for voting for the preliminary approval for Kent Animal Shelter. They have worked so hard to get where they are now. They've redesigned the project. I don't think anyone is here from the application, but I appreciate that. And also I wanted to wish my husband happy birthday. I could not spend his birthday with him tonight, but on the record, happy birthday, Tyler.
Happy birthday, Tyler! I'm sure this is more fun.
Okay, can we move on to moving the meeting minutes?
I'll move the meeting minutes of the board from June 1st and June 15th. So moved.
Second.
Vote please. Bear.
Yes.
Nenaro.
Aye.
Hogan.
Aye.
Dennisesky.
Aye.
Woski, yes. Other business? Correspondences? Our next meeting date is Thursday, July 20th, 2023 at 3 p.m. Thank you and have a safe trip home.
Thank you.